Let us proceed with inviting the blessings of the divine supreme truth, which is Lord Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, our parampara, and all the divine forces that we can pull in at this point. Because today I want to provide you a very deep contemplation, perhaps the key contemplation that switches our perspective about our human journey. And I would want that all possible divine help we get in my teaching and you receiving this transmission of knowledge. Today, I want to propose to you, dear Sadasyas, a contemplation around the 7 teachings on the self, beginning with Aham Nitya, I am Nitya, I am Satyam, I am Avinashi, I am Sarvagata, I am all-pervading, I am Akarta, Abhokta, I am Nirvikara. All these thoughts, as I mentioned to you in my writing that I sent out to you, these are not ordinary thoughts. No human being sits around and even thinks these thoughts, because that is not our common experience. Our common experience is not of permanence, Nitya, but it is of impermanence, our day-to-day experience. Our day-to-day experience is not of being, in all, not of being the, ever present in all stages, all states of time. We feel that we are changing. So we don't feel Satyam. We don't feel unbroken, Avinashi. And we very much think we are the doer, we are the experiencer. In fact, and we experience change. So therefore, our biology, our physics, our chemistry, all our knowledge systems, worldly knowledge systems, our colloquial, our common wisdom, our lay understanding, our even very intuitive understanding is of pain and change and, impermanence. And it has led to a lot of sorrow and fear, and that's our lot. So, like I mentioned, these thoughts, these new thoughts, this new biodata that you are being given, this new way of assessing who you are is not something we just pick up. And nowadays I have found that many books talk like that, but about these teachings are about good 8,000 to 9,000 years BCE, before Common Era. And because I'm going back, not even in Bhagavad Gita, I'm going back to the Upanishads, where each of these teaching is laid out. So these are, the shlokas are, most of them are original as in Bhagavad Gita, but the teachings are timeless because they come from the older Upanishads. And they may not be given in exact form, but this is the key teaching of the Upanishads. And it's a very ancient teaching. And this ancient teaching became the source for this new way for questioning the default, and then for taking on certain new understandings. So these scriptures, or the Shastra or Upanishads, are known as Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana. Shabda means word, and Pramana means source of knowledge. The words of those very specific class of teachings, those words became, when we hear them, when we contemplate upon them, they open the door to the self. So they become the source of self-knowledge. So there are certain methods of attaining self-knowledge, or any kind of knowledge. One of them is known as Pratyaksha pramana, what I see. So that becomes my knowledge. For example, when I look in the mirror and I see a woman, and so based upon that, I conclude I'm a woman. Or if I see what color I see, or whatever I see, I conclude I am this. And so this is known as pratyaksha pramana. Pratyaksha means direct perception. That's one form of knowledge. Another form of knowledge is known as anumana pramana. Anumana means inference. In fact, the fact that I could look at myself and say I'm a woman is because people who have come before me have concluded that a woman looks like this. So a woman talks like this, a woman behaves like this. So I have concluded. So there's inferences that are within us. And an example of inference, so inference is based upon prior perceptions becoming a knowledge system, because of which we conclude something. So for example, if we see smoke coming from behind the hill, because of prior perception which connects smoke to fire, we can say that, oh, there must be a fire that must be active behind the hill. We've not seen the fire, which would then be direct perception or pratyaksha pramana, but we have seen the smoke, with which you have intellectually connected the smoke with the fire, and so we call it inferential perception, an inferential source of knowledge, and we say that this is known as anumana pramana. And then there is a third praman, which is not based upon, and then there is a yukti praman also in Ayurveda, because some of you Ayurveda students are wondering why I'm not talking about yukti, but yukti is very specific to the medical field, so I will not talk about it right now. Now, so most of our time, we are always assessing things based on either we are assessing our whole universe and ourselves based on what we see or what we infer, right? So we are what we see right now or what we have seen in the prior, and therefore we conclude. So this is another kind of praman. And then there is a third kind of praman, which is known as Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana. It is also known as Apta Vakya, but we will go by Shabda. Shabda means word. Pramana means source of knowledge. The Shabda Pramana is the words of aptas or sages who are blemishless, blameless, because they have given these words not for their personal benefit. They have shared this knowledge which was revealed to them by divine sources. So it has not arisen from their perception, it has not arisen from their conclusive inferences, but they have given it in the Upanishads, and the Upanishads led to some commentaries that we read, like Shankaracharya's Tattvabodh, etc., or Vivek Chudamani. They're all based on the Upanishads. And then those words become the source of knowledge. So when nobody has seen Brahman, nobody has seen Atman, nobody has even seen that earth rotates around the sun. So at one time, certain people had said that earth is flat, I think, right? That was the belief at one time by a large group of people. And so that was their belief. But who is to confirm? I mean, now we have other ways of confirming in modern technology. But even if you can now confirm by scientific reasons and logical reasons, but at one time in the Veda, it was mentioned that earth is spherical it, and it is going around the sun, and nobody has seen it. Now we have seen it, but not then. So they knew it because it was told to them, and they revealed it in the Veda. And we can argue and say, well, prove it to us first, or we can just accept the Veda as a source of knowledge. So this is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, this was a case where we can say, oh yeah, Veda was correct. But Veda has said many things which you cannot prove. Like Veda is saying that you are Nitya or you are Avinashi. So for this we have to understand, we can use logic afterwards, which I will use now, to somewhat convince you, explain to you what the Shabda Pramana or the words of the Upanishads, these 7 words are very important. These are words from the Upanishads. And once you understand them with the help of your teacher, so that's why teacher becomes an important intermediary between the Upanishads, Shabdas, words, and your understanding. Once you understand them and accept them and contemplate them and take them on as your belief system about who you are, then they will become a source of knowledge to you. For example, one source, somebody may have a lot of muscles, and they have looked, and their direct perception in the mirror has also confirmed to them that yes, I have mirrors, I have muscles. And also, whenever anything heavy needed to be picked up, other people could not manage, but they could pick it up, so they can infer that they have good muscles. So this is a belief system that they have, that I'm a strong person, and because of that belief system, they will lead their life in a certain way. Okay. And so their life will unfold a certain way. So our knowledge about ourselves, or our self-definitions, or our self-understanding can map out the way how our life unfolds. And currently our life is unfolding in a somewhat limited manner, painful manner, because the current words that have not been revealed by divine sources, but they have been just arisen from only perception and inference by human beings, and they perceive matter bodies, which perishes, which decays. They even see stars dying. So what is this body? So everything is a very matter-based description of perishing, low energy, and changeability. So therefore, those are our descriptions, and we go by that. So the goal of Upanishad is to question that self-description, and then to convey these words to us, bring a teacher to us to help explain them to us impartially. Because once you understand the import of these meanings, of these words, it shall connect you to your inner freedom. And there is no advantage to the Upanishad sages if you are living in freedom. There's no direct advantage to me either. This is what is known as Brahma Yajna, where we want to spread the good news and the good words, the word which is packed with knowledge, so that the human beings who are suffering because of a mistaken identity, and they have mistaken their identity. You have mistaken your identity so much that you have believed that mistaken identity, and now you're acting out scripts from that mistaken identity. So I wanted to talk to you about the first word, Nitya. So it's a Shabda from the Upanishad. It's a word, and it is a Praman into itself. It's a source of knowledge. When we investigate this premise of the word Nitya and Anitya, and which one are you, many things will change. So if muffins are kept and some small stones are also kept, You don't even need to touch the muffins or the stones to tell what is what. You can just eyeball it and go for the muffin if you're hungry, and you'll avoid the stone. So it's a very easy peasy, no tension discernment between what is what. Okay. This is, and most of the time our subtle intellect or our buddhi or our higher mind is able to do that. We can manage that. Sometimes there can be things mixed up in the universe, such as, two liquids can be mixed up, and it's hard to separate them. For example, milk and water can be mixed up. And when you look at it with your eye, it might not, you might think it's just still milk, but you may need to then drink it or pour it and see its consistency. So you'll have to do a little more investigation to say, oh, water is being mixed in the milk, and best of luck trying to separate those two, because it's not easy, And I mean, hypothetically, probably in a scientific lab, you could do that, separate out the molecules and things, but it's not easy. But at least you can tell that, okay, this is not just milk, this is water. And, you might think, why would I do that? But let me tell you that this is very common, because sometimes in India, I mean, we had our own cow, but many people would, buy milk from somewhere else. And sometimes I would hear those people complaining that the milk was too thin and, there was some water has been mixed. I don't know, because we always had our own milk, but it's possible. Anyway, so at least in one case, it was really clear. In the other case, it was not clear at first, but then it becomes clear. But now Upanishad goes to the extent. When I say Upanishad, it includes Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is Upanishad. Tells you that there has been a big mix-up in this world and in you. There's a big mix-up going on, and you are a victim of that mixing up, And the problem is that not only are you victim of that mix-up, but that you don't even know about it. So if you had not bumped into somebody who led you to this class, or you hadn't, I don't know, like situations occurred that you read a book or you met somebody or you heard a podcast. I don't know how you reached this specific moment when I'm telling you these things, but it is said that 99% people will be suffering sorrow because of a mix-up between two entities. One entity is impermanent and one entity is permanent. And between the permanent nitya and the impermanent anitya, and they have been mixed up, and because of that you are suffering, and I'll tell you why. But the issue with this kind of mix-up is that until you find a situation where you begin hearing the Upanishads, and the Upanishad informs you, until then, you don't really question the setup. So hypothetically, you are eating the stones with the muffin. Hypothetically, you are drinking the super diluted, milk, which is almost water, which is white colored, and you don't know it. So you are getting indigestion, emotional, existential, but you don't know it. You don't know it. One, you're ignorant. You don't know that, you don't even know what is the relevance of this class right now. You don't know even the relevance of the teacher in your life. You don't know the cosmic, you think you know, but after this class you'll know more. But, or maybe after a few years you'll know more, because I really started understanding the value like the cosmic value of my teacher for my cosmic purpose in my life many years later. Though I had affection and respect and devotion and shraddha and all of those things in place. But that aha moment of, oh my God, you came to tell me, because you could see what I couldn't see, that I am mixed up in a mixed up universe. And it's critical that I begin discerning between them, which is known as viveka, or separating between them, because otherwise I will continue eating the stones with the muffin, drinking the water with the milk, suffering from constant sorrow, and then going back into the same stone and muffin scenario, or the watered milk scenario to get strong, or the stone and muffin scenario to feed myself, and then end up hurting myself. So one is, we are ignorant, and so this is considered a divine intervention when the words, the Shabda Pramana, starts coming to us. And if you read the Bhagavad Gita, oh yeah, there is Nitya, there is Anitya, that's right. And and I am Nitya, and these are words. So now my work is to live this, and then to convince you. What are you? And what are you not is more important. And next, one is you're ignorant, and number two is that you're a victim of this ignorance, and one, you're a victim, two, you don't know that you are a victim. So you are a victim, and you don't know you're a victim. So that's another thing. So Shabda Pramana, thanks to Anugraha, or special grace of the divine setup, let's just call it setup at this point. Hypothetically, at this point, you don't know what is what. You don't know the words like Brahman, Atman. Let's just say that all you know is that you are who you are. And you don't know that you are suffering from a condition of mixing up. And all you know is you feel sorrowful at times, confused at times. So then Upanishads comes in to want to inform you. And another thing is that you have not only mixed up things, but you have superimposed their qualities. So you have superimposed the quality of what you think is permanent may probably be impermanent. So we think, I have earned the money, I have a little nest, and now I've created permanent security for myself, but it's actually impermanent, because you are impermanent, and then this season is impermanent, and then the life is impermanent. So what we've done is, like, we actually think that the impermanent is permanent, so we are confused. So now, to summarize, three things are happening. Why Shabda Pramana is very unique as a window to open you to something, to tell you something you didn't even know you needed to listen. Because the delusion, or the moha, or the comfortableness with the mix-up of the permanent and the impermanent is so extreme within you that you don't even know that you are a victim of that mixing up, because of which you have tremendous self-ignorance. You don't even know who you are. You don't know you're a victim of that. And on top of that, you have comfortably made yourself very comfortable by projecting qualities of permanence on what is basically impermanence. So this is the situation. This is where you're at. And at this time, you are in a Bhagavad Gita class. And Bhagavad Gita has opened with the highest wisdom that could be assisting you in ultimately shaking up your comfortable views and telling you a few more things. And what I'm about to tell you, let me share with you that it changes our assumptions about the world. But and if people don't stay in the satsang, and if you just leave after this class, for example, today, and you never come back to the satsang, then you might actually develop like, what's the use of the world? Everything is impermanent, and develop quite a disillusioned, defeatist, depressed state of mind. So one should not pluck at Upanishadic knowledge. One should, and that's why we have, teachings around karma yoga and upasana yoga. Get your act together in terms of why you're in the class, and then stay there. And if you miss any class, make up for it on a continued basis, because one, things build on each other, and two, you don't want to like stay on the boat forever. And once you've arrived at your destination of moksha, you should get off and do other things, help others awaken. And before you achieve moksha, you shouldn't get off the boat, because then you will go with half-baked knowledge. So that's one thing. Just wanted to drop that in with you, that for a while there, it will feel like, whoa, everything I stood on is being really shaken up by Acharya here, but I need to shake it up so that I can point out to you what is unshaking. So what we've done is we've taken the unreal to be real. We've taken the non-permanent, the impermanent to be permanent. And we've taken the changing to be the unchanging. And so let's move on. So I've come to this point. So the word nitya means permanent, unchanging. So I'll just stick with the word, let's just say permanent. And I will go with anitya, means impermanent. I wonder if it's non-permanent or impermanent. I'm not very sure of the English, but probably I'll just call it impermanent. Impermanence. Yeah, I think it's impermanent. So Shabda Pramana or Upanishad, or words as a source of knowledge, they say something very boldly to you. They say that you are permanence. We all, not we all living ones, you are permanent. You are true permanence inside you. You go, whoa, really? Say, yeah. That's why all the time you are seeking permanence. You want permanent health. You want permanent job security. You want permanent vows. You want permanent youth. You want permanent love. You want permanent, relationships, don't you? Aren't you a seeker of permanence? If you look at all your dissatisfaction, ultimately you are seeking yourself, which is permanence. You're looking for something permanent, everything, all the time, everywhere. Sit with that. But you are looking for permanence in the wrong place. You won't get it. You're looking for permanence in the field of transience, change, and impermanence. The words, the Gita, all the Upanishads are telling one thing only. They are saying one thing. Indians talk like that. They are telling one thing only. So we'll use a lot of that word only. So I try to talk more contemporary English for you. They are trying to say one thing only. Only sounds wonderful. That everything apart from you, I'm only talking to you. I'm only talking to you. Everything apart from you is anityam or impermanent. And you, I'm only talking to you. I'm not talking to the group. I'm talking to you. Are looking for permanent house, permanent relationship, permanent wealth, permanent, inspiration, permanent energy, permanent creativity in the house of change. Everything is impermanent. So You won't find it anywhere else. If you want, that's what you want, right? You want permanent position, permanent power, everything permanent. Permanent address, permanent Facebook ID, everything permanent. You won't find it, so you have to find it in the right place. It is not outside you, because you are Nitya. That is what verse 12 introduces you to, and the rest of the Upanishad. The whole Upanishad is built around this basic paradigm shifting perspective of a discernment between Nitya and Anitya, and that every being is made up also of Nitya and Anitya, and this world is also made up of Nitya, Anitya, except that whatever you experience with your five senses. So when you look at yourself, you know, you can experience, you can taste yourself, smell yourself, touch yourself. Everything that is through the senses, it is Anitya. Similarly, in the world, also there is isness. There is something Nitya that is underneath. That's also hiding, mixed up. And in you also, it's mixed up. So, because you can't see the Nitya, you take Anitya to be Nitya, because you cannot see the isness, which is permanent. So you take the changeness to be permanent. You say, this is it. There is nothing beyond this. This is everything. Body is everything. Mind is everything. Intellect, where I can see some thoughts and ideas, is everything. And this world is everything. And I live on Earth, and I live on Milky Way, and I am in this hemisphere. And now with Google Earth, I am living here, and this has become your world, and this is all impermanent. And to be able to and you got so mixed up in the impermanent. So one, at the body level, at your unit level, when you got mixed up, you developed a false identity. And I've taught classes on my first and fourth Thursdays around how the ego, built up. It created a false identity, and it's a very limited identity around the impermanent, the perishable. But whereas you are imperishable, right? But I'll just use permanent, impermanent for now, or change and changeless for now. And then when you find it in the world, this is a really sorry situation, because then you start emotionally, you're set up to suffer, because wherever you make a stake claim for permanence of any kind, you are bound to come back with handfuls of impermanence. And this is the number one delusion. That is why Shankaracharya has given a whole sadhana chatushtayam, which begins the number one step. There is the discernment between what is nitya and what is anitya. And so Lord Krishna, Lord Jagat Guru Krishna is teaching us that how about you change, you start thinking of yourself as you pay attention to the nitya. Okay. Now, if you are a new person to Vedanta, if you are ignorant, you don't even know that you are mixed up. Perishable and imperishable is mixed up. Change and changeless is mixed up. Permanent and impermanent is mixed up. On top of that, you think impermanent is good to go. You think impermanent is your only reality. You think identifying with impermanence is not the cause of your sorrow. Then why would you even look for something permanent? And then I come back to my original point, that you look for it because Lord, Supreme Truth, wants you to look for it. So you come to satsang, so you find a teacher, and so you find a teacher who won't just move on and keeps pointing out that you are nitya. You are not anitya. So it is simply, it's not saying that you can't enjoy permanent peace, permanent bliss, permanent happiness, permanent joy. Go for it. Go for it. But look for it in the right place. That's what is the teaching. So if you were looking for permanent peace and permanent joy, permanent security in your partner or in your relationship, like I was at one time, twice, then I didn't find it. So do you think the partners were hurting me? They were evil? No. This was being brought upon me. All relationships are awakening classrooms. All. And the difficult relationships included. And they point out to us, depending on how they are going, good or bad, what are we not seeing? Are we not seeing if we are cooperative enough? Are we communicative in a proper manner? Are we patient enough? Are we dharmic? Are we telling white lies? Are we real? And ultimately, below all of that, the whole relationship drama happens. Situational drama happens, difficulties happen to wake us up from our dream of fusion in the field of impermanence. And so, the net effect of my journey through my own relationships was that I'm enjoying a very positive, balanced, harmonious relationship, not only with my life partner, but probably I'm at a stage of life where I'm 99.9, probably I could say 100, but I think that would sound really vain. Maybe I should go back to 99.8 or 9% or 5%, 99.5% relationships are doing wonderfully, and 2-3% I may not know about, but they are not in my immediate vicinity for me. I'm not ignoring them, and 1 or 2%, it's just very easy at this point, relationships. Why? Because I stopped looking for, I knew that this relationship is not the place, not the bank for me to invest my credit. Because all the people I meet, everything, and remember we talked about putting the guru aside, but all other relationships at this point, because the guru is a special relationship, we put in a special bubble until we awaken. Otherwise, if we start developing all kinds of worldly relationship threads around the mentor or the teacher figure, then we'll never wake up. So we have to put Ishvara and Guru in the same bundle aside, and Sakshi, the inner witness, to put aside. But otherwise, everything else we meet, even our pets, much as we love them, they are impermanent, they go away. And if we put all our eggs in their basket, then we will suffer. And just knowing that whatever I see is impermanent, including my own body. So I have met people who, as they age, they suffer. They suffer the sorrow of every wrinkle. And I am also aging. I have also lost, flexibility of my neck. There were times when people said, "Oh, you have such a long neck." My father, some of you have met him. He's a history fan. He started his career as a professor of history in Allahabad University and in northern India. And then he went into administrative diplomatic career afterwards. So he calls himself a history buff, and he has been reading all kinds of history books. and writing on them. So when he comes to America also, he would dive into my son's history books. And whenever we tell him, what do you want from America? He will say, bring me your son's 8th grade history book. And even though he was a professor, he enjoys even a 4th grade history book. So he loves history. So when I was young, I had a tall neck, not tall, long neck. Because I'm tall, so the neck was also tall or long. Excuse my English. And my father used to tease me that this is my queen Nefertiti. Nefertiti was an Egyptian queen who was famous for her long, slender neck. Now I don't have a neck. And at the same time, there is no loss or tragedy or sense of doom or panic in me. Occasional inconvenience which can be handled. Why? Because what is impermanent and who am I, which is permanent, is separated out. So therefore, until we go on looking for permanent beauty, permanent long neck, permanent everything in the wrong place, then we shall suffer. And so today I invite you to stop looking for permanence in impermanence. Today I invite you to do that. And a lot of us have buddhi, a lot of us have a higher mind, but it is not awakened to do this kind of discernment. It might do discernment of removing stones from muffins. It might get clever enough to separate milk from water, although it's not that clever. There is a bird called Hamsa who knows it automatically. Human beings don't know it automatically. And for most of us, we are asleep. But then that is where Upanishad comes in, the words come in, the special grace of God comes in to say, wake up. And now start developing your subtle discernment so that you can discern between what happened. Which field did I get lost in? So this is very interesting. And then we should pay attention to the impermanence almost as a sadhana, the sadhana of impermanence. Buddha has talked about it. I don't know his exact words that he used, but I've heard that he talks about it. I've seen it in books by other Buddhist scholars, and it makes sense. And it comes from this deep Vedic root of discernment between what is nitya and what is anitya. Or it is related to it. It doesn't come from it because Lord Buddha's teaching is all about impermanence, because he in fact does not say that there is a permanent self. In fact, he says there is, he uses the word shunyata in a different way. So the word shunyata, I shouldn't confuse you, but the word shunyata in Vedanta is appears empty, but it has invisible content in it. And the word shunyata, as per Lord Buddha, is emptiness, pure emptiness. So his teaching is that there is nothing but impermanence. So and in a way, what he was dismantling was the illusion. But let's not go there. Sorry. But the point is that he did beautifully. We can look to him towards his teachings on impermanence. And it's a kind of a sadhana that he taught, which is really beautiful, because what are we doing? What is the common eye doing? The common eye is saying, look at this tree. Oh my God, it's 200 years old. Do you know? We're so proud, look at this Vedas. 10,000 years old. Do you know? And we think, whoa, but so many things have come and gone, and nobody knows what will last, what will not last. And probably if some people heard me and I said Vedas are also impermanent, they will not like it. But the point is that even Upanishads say that. Upanishads say that the truth lies beyond the words. The Upanishads are saying that. So the truth is not even in the scripture, because even the scripture And the knowledge will change from mind to mind, from generation to generation. It has changed from Baba to me to you, from you to somebody else. So things are changing. Okay, we can capture it in books, and in 5 more million years, all the books will have disappeared also. Then so many empires came and went, and they had their own temples and acharyas and gurus and Vedas and Qurans, and where are all that? Nothing. Gone. We are fortunate that in this lifetime, in this current dream, the Vedas have survived, and you have your acharya, but everything changes. It's all impermanent. So persuaded by Vedanta, persuaded by these Upanishads, we can start we can start doing a sadhana of impermanence to look at the body and to oil it and take care of it. But we should know that this is a field of impermanence. So we will not get overly attached to it. When we will not get overly attached to it, then one kind of sleepwalking behavior or compulsive addictive unconsciousness called dehavasana will end. We decorate it all the time, we paint it all the time, and I'm all for it. And I also teach wear silk in winter and wear cotton in summer, and and it should be shiny and it should be short jump, and all of those things are there. And when I feel like it, I will also dress up the way I feel like it. But whatever I do, it should not, you can do it from that place, but if it comes from an attachment to that body, to that compulsively wanting it, like fear and sorrow around it, aging, changing, dropping, then it's a vasana. And but when we start noticing that no, this was never meant to be permanent, this is impermanent, but I, who is witnessing it, is the permanent entity, then that will reduce the dehavasana. And dehavasana going is very important. Otherwise, we keep thinking about sex long after the organs can't even, participate in sexual behavior. Have you heard of people who are stuck to sexual thoughts, activity? What is it called? Yeah, all those things, not right things, hurting children, secrets, infidelity, so many things are there. And also just if the body gets hurt, or if it gets damaged or broken, or then there is sorrow and nothing is useless. I have had, if students have devasana, then they can come up to me and say, 5 years we have been your student and now we get cancer. This is not fair. This is such a discharge from the Vedic studies program. Then this is all wrong, because what is impermanent will remain impermanent. Nobody can change that law, and anybody who promises that, such as ageless body, etc., these kind of things, or deathless bodies, they can just be some random thoughts. I doubt if even the person who sells things like ageless body, if their hair don't start graying, Even there was a science called Kaya Kalpa, started in India. And the Kaya Kalpa people said that we will not let anybody die. And I'm not against beauty, or all that, right? So I'm all for beauty and pro for skincare and all of that. But I don't want to make, any suggestions that are not with the law of Brahman, because Upanishads stated very clearly that what is impermanent is impermanent. So the Kaya Kalpa scientists came out in India around Ayurveda and time, and they were like, body can get healthy again. It is a mystical space, and we can do this energy, this herb, that herb, and we will make it live forever and youthful forever. And where are all those people? They're dead. They're dead. So, impermanence outside. You are Nitya. This is very important. So, this ongoing discernment between the changing entity around you and this body and mind and the changeless entity is very important, because if you don't do this Nitya Anitya discernment of Vastu Viveka, which you call in Sadhana Chaturashtayam, then, we will never be really be able to go deeper, So then, which was that text, Tattva Bodh. I don't know if I brought it out here, but in Tattva Bodh, Ekam Vastu Brahma. I think Tattva Bodh, it goes Ekam Vastu Brahma Nitya. There is only one Vastu or one entity which is Nitya, which is Brahma. So in that text, for the first time, students get exposed to the word Brahma. Brahma is from Brahman, Brihatvat iti Brahma, which is the biggest. Nobody can overtake it. That is Brahman. And that is the only entity. So Nitya means, how are you permanent? How are you permanent? How is yourself? And you say myself, which means you and yourself are different. But how are you permanent? Because you are only that which is infinite. Anything that is finite is impermanent, and anything that is infinite will be permanent. And how is infinite understood in the Vedanta? So you are infinity. You are not limited by space. You are all pervading. So all pervading. You are not limited by time. Kala, Tita. So you are in past, present, and future. You are not limited by objects also. For example, if you are an object called the goat, then you cannot be an object called the cow. And if you are an object called the cow, then you cannot be an object called the human. Because an object is a form and it will limit you, but through Nitya word, you are being told that you are actually living in all forms. That's what it is being told to you actually. Right now, you're having multiple life experiences through all the forms, because you are all pervasive. You are always present. You are not limited. So you are thinking that you are limited, but that the part that is thinking that it is limited is the part that was born from the confusion between permanent and impermanent, and it is the confused ahamkara or the jiva. But in reality, you are infinite Brahman. Shunya Brahman, it is called. It's empty Brahman, which means you can't see it. That's who you are. You're Nitya. And you are unlimited. And how will you experience this Brahman or this truth of your own infinitude, Nitya self, inside you and outside you? And there you will have to bring in contemplations, because now Shabda Pramana helps you and says, look, you can't see it with your 5 senses. In fact, be very alert that whatever you are seeing is impermanent. Whatever you're seeing is impermanent. But through intuitive knowledge that goes beyond thoughts, gradually by listening to satsang, you shall remember. And satsang will teach you things like, even if there are waves, the truth is ocean. Even if there are many ornaments, the truth is gold. So ornament can change, but the gold will not change. Waves can rise and fall, but the ocean does not rise and fall. So ocean remains pure existence, pure Nitya, and so that is you. So Ekam Vastu Brahma, there is only one entity that is permanent, everything else is temporary. This is known also as Brahma Viveka or Viveka alone, as in Sadhana Chatushtayam. And how does this become important? One, it ends if you see it in your body. then it will remove your deha vasana. You will stop um, relying upon your body alone as your only ID. And this is very important. It's self-explanatory. Then similarly in the world, we see the world as the answer for all our needs. We want health, we go to the world. We want love, we go to the world. We want security, we go to the world. We want name, fame, we go to the world. We want knowledge, we go to the world, right? So the world has a lot of glamour, but yet it is impermanent. And the more, if we don't know this knowledge that I'm sharing with you, then we have a very dysfunctional relationship with a huge world, a powerful world, a seductive world, a mystical world, a scary place to be, the big, big, big world of people, ideas, opportunities, and I've heard things like the world is a field of opportunity, and forgive me if I say it too, but I may say it in some other context, such as a growth opportunity or learning opportunity. But in reality, it is nothing but a one big delusion, promising all kinds of permanence. It's like a one big marketplace, which is saying, buy it, permanent health, permanent relationship, permanent beautiful skin, permanent, what is it? Permanent hair shiny, everything permanent. Okay, permanent sexual solutions, permanent everything. And in reality, is the most it's a fraud, it's a fiction. And there is no conspiracy theory. Upanishads state things as they are. Right now, don't ask me why. Right now, see what's happening, and then you will understand the why. Because when you're so mixed up, what should I tell you? What should I tell you? When you know who you are, you'll already know the answers. So we'll get there at some point. Each one of us wakes up to what's happening. It's called waking up. So until and unless you're so invested in the universe of impermanence, then you don't really have the power, do you? And for those morsels of permanence, you are working, you are studying, you are, losing weight. I mean, you're doing so many things 3 times, losing weight, or gaining weight. But the point is that it's coming from a state of ignorance. It's not really coming from this connection with what is nitya and then gently doing what's right or wrong. Or what's good or what is noble, not right and wrong in that sense, but good and noble, dharmic. Rather, it's coming from this compulsive need to secure permanence in a state of impermanence. So therefore, the second vasana, which is a huge vasana, and it is called lokavasana, which is the vasana to somehow win the world, to get its approval, to belong to it, to be clapped in it, to be recognized in it, to be made secure in it, to buy a little land in it, to establish a little flag in it, to somehow get a little logo going in it, to do something in the world, is coming from a place of vasana. And so we can enjoy, but we are not bound by vasanas just by knowing that we are nitya and everything else is anitya. We will not tire trying to prove a point. We will not get exhausted. And this alone is just very big relief from knowing that I won't find any permanence anywhere. So it also, calmed down my expectation in relationships. I don't even have expectation of permanence from my own students. I don't know. All is going well for now. It's fine. So this is very useful. It doesn't make you bitter. it actually then excites you to want to find out what is permanent and to connect with that, and to know that once I connect with my permanence, my permanent entity, I shall connect with a permanent entity that is throbbing in every being, because I am told that what is permanent, it cannot break up just because now what is permanent in me, so now it's no longer permanent. So if it's permanent, it can't stop being permanent because now my body ends here and Prasanna's body or Sharanya's body begins. It can't happen like that. If it's permanent, it can't be broken up by bodies. It can't be broken up by, time, space, or form. It cannot. It's just going to cross them, transcend them, and all pervade. And to be all pervading, it has to be formless. And because it's formless doesn't mean it's absent. And this is where the philosophy of Advaita separates from the philosophy of Buddhism. So we actually say that what we are calling as the permanent entity, which is Atman, is actually an entity. We're saying that there is an entity, and its quality is that it is formless, invisible, okay? And it is nitya, right? So that it can be, it's nitya. So we're not saying that there is only impermanence. That's the only difference. So we're saying that one teacher saw only impermanence, and what that does is it really, people or followers of the impermanence of Lord Buddha really get cleansed out, that's for sure. Any true seeker of that path, in any path there are true seekers, and then there are semi-true seekers, and then there are confused seekers. But the true seekers, really, when they see the impermanence, because I had read some original Dhammapada translations of his teachings on impermanence, they were like, wow, they really wake you up, from your vasanas. So, and there is such an important part in Advaita Vedanta too, around first seeing the impermanence so that we stop our investment in it and our expectations in it. And so can we just stop badgering our husband or wife or in-laws or children or stepchildren for our respect and honor and love and attention, because it's an illusion and you are in that impermanent field. And can you, instead of spending that time arguing, explaining, defending, can you just stroke them on the back a little bit, pat them, even if they're being a little silly or impolite, and say, yeah, I would like you not to talk to me like this, but, and then really, when you touch them, you really feel like, wow, they're fused in they're impermanent, and they're fused in the field of impermanence, so they don't know. But you are being told, so you know, and it's better for you to be quiet and connect with it intuitively. And if you connect now, you'll connect. So this is my teaching to you. And this teaching I have not done before. This teaching I have not done when I taught Sadhana Panchakam or Tattva Bodh or any of that. This is brand new teaching, because this is what happens when you open an Upanishad. It takes you deeper. And I didn't know that we would be actually able to start the Gita and reach these verses. But I must commend the students who have worked very hard. So we are here, we are in the deeper end, and the way I like to teach it is, I know that the contemplations of Nitya and Anitya set me free, because everybody wants to be happy. Me too. What's wrong with it? Because happiness, Vedanta, or the words of Vedanta say happiness is my true nature. But at least I no longer seek it in the wrong place. And that is why I can spend more time meditating, being quiet, taking a walk by myself, chanting, meeting the people I want to meet. I'm no longer working it to be happy. If I'm writing the book, I'm writing it from my happiness. If I'm teaching this extra class on Anitya, I'm teaching it because I want to teach it while it's active in your contemplation and it's active in mine. And I was so filled with gratitude towards the Upanishads, towards Bhagavad Gita, towards Baba, towards Brahman, towards Ishvara, for bringing this path-breaking knowledge in my life and allowing me to gradually live in the world of impermanence without becoming one with it, allowing the impermanent parts of me to gradually decay, fall apart, while applying Ayurveda and Ashtanga Yoga to offer them TLC while I inhabit them. But I don't have to, for example, if I wash them, I put oil on the non-permanent parts, I offer them khichdi and ghee and all of that, but I'm not attached to them. And this is where the pain goes away, because the pain lives in the attachments. I wonder if I've covered everything. And to understand, to continue to understand Nitya, Anitya, I have to say Vivek, this sadhana, this discernment is called Viveka. Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. The Nitya and Anastu, Vastu means entity, Vivekaha, discernment. And in Ramayana, in Tulsi Ramayana, it says, Binu Satsang Viveka na hoi. Without satsang, we don't get this Vivek, because we forget, and we'll keep getting caught up in the impermanent entity parts of ourselves. And so the teacher keeps bringing us back, and the scripture keeps bringing us back. And so it's like, so that's one thing that's very important. And then, of course, we will be offering continued teachings on Sadhana Chatushtayam, which focuses upon this Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, and this so satsang is super important. One, to hone our viveka or our discernment between what is permanent and what is impermanent. That's the second thing is karma yoga, and specifically seva. Because when we offer selfless seva, we through karma yoga, we get, our mind gets purified, and in the mind, then rajas and tamas are less and sattva is more. And so seva is a true shraddha filled seva is the first place where we can really, like, what will happen is when we start offering seva, first rajas comes up, and then tamas comes up, and and resistance comes up, and passion comes up, and distraction comes up. But then because we are in satsang, so we are hearing the value of seva and karma yoga, like, hey, don't get attached to your work, just do it impersonally, do it right, do it as an offering to Guru, God, and a higher Brahma Yajna. Then what happens is sattva enhances in us, and when sattva enhances in us, sattva naturally helps us discern better, because sattva is the guna, the quality of our higher mind, whereas rajas and tamas is the mood of our day-to-day lower mind, which is happy eating the stones with the muffin, which is happy drinking the water with the milk. And with rajas and tamas, we don't know. We don't even know we are suffering. We are just suffering. We don't know why. But that is why karma yoga is considered essential part of the Viveka sadhana, which we shall talk to you more in. You might be reading the Sadhana Chatushtayam booklet. So this is why karma yoga is considered almost essential. Seva is almost essential for you at this point to be even receiving this jnanam. If you are a student who is not offering any seva, like minimum seva, like not even a transcription seva, and you've not dealt with your demons of tamas and rajas, and when you concluded that seva, if you did not grow from that, and you felt more peaceful because now you were doing it just like God grows a flower, it's like it's a perfection, but it's not like he has to come and smell it, he or she, it's for everyone. So it's like when you do that kind of seva, only then your mind is really pure and the sattva button is shining in you. And when that's shining in your mind is when you're receiving this knowledge. And if you're not doing none of that, and if you're just auditing the classes and thinking, I'll just listen to this and change, you might, but you might benefit more if you are also following the, the 5 things I'm going to talk about, which support viveka. So one, this is already mentioned in the booklet about seva and karma yoga being very important. Satsang is like it's not even a question mark, because if you disconnect from the source of the words, then you will hear it and then you'll forget it, because the nature of the impermanence is that it comes and takes over, and it makes you think you're an impermanent entity, a fragile entity, and that's what you become, and you can't connect to your true power. So satsang is number 1, and with satsang, continued karma yoga attitudes is very important. And so, I have teachings on karma yoga on the internet, and also clearly described in the booklet. So these 2 are must. And then third is ongoing. This is also a very basic thing. I've talked about it many times, but sadhana or swadhyaya. So even if you did 15 minutes of contemplation on Bhagavad Gita or Tattva Bodha, whatever I'm teaching you something, or even if you did like some impermanent sadhana where you, you saw impermanence. I mean, if you look at Lord Buddha's story, it's very symbolic. He was a prince, he came out, he saw a diseased person, he saw a diseased person, an aged person, and a dying person. And his father had kept him closeted in all kinds of beauty and, and luxury and everything. But all those pleasures after a while get boring. And when he came out, he insisted he wanted to go out. And when he went out, he saw this and he had instant vairagyam. He had instant separation. He said, oh my God, if this is it, if in spite of lying on the most beautiful bed with the best pillow, I mean, these are not his words, I'm just juxtaposing. He might have thought this way. Given a prince, I'm sleeping on silk pillows and most comfortable mattress, and I have the most beautiful wife, and I have the most beautiful curtains and the most biggest house in the kingdom, and yet I will age, yet I will have disease, yet I will die like this and lie like a corpse where, I'll be, worms would be eating my body, then I'm not interested. This caused instant dispassion within him towards lokavasana, and that became the reason that he could be who he is. The people have their own stories, so this was his story. And so swadhyaya is very important, sadhana. So satsang, seva, sadhana, I think are key. These are the key pillars of our sampradaya, because they help you stay connected to the words of the Upanishad. The Shabda Praman, and the word that we are talking today is Nitya, as opposed to Anitya that you thought you were. You thought you were an impermanent being. I only got 70 years to live. Let me eat all the cake I want to. Let me have a good life. Let me run and grab some more impermanent things to make myself feel more permanently happy, and it doesn't happen. Okay. I already talked about Sattva Guna, so that's nothing new. I think Sattva Guna, so maybe they're not 4 things, just I think through satsang, through seva, through sadhana, Sattva Guna keeps improving, and Sattva Guna helps the higher mind function in its discernment, because Rajas and Tamas just won't allow you to discern. Rajas will just say, oh, I'm already distracted by this new teaching, by this new teacher, or by this new book, or by this, by this new therapy, and off you go chasing more impermanent things. But Sattva Guna will say, wait, I can go to this new therapy, but I must remember that ultimately everything is impermanent and I am permanent. And what does that mean? Do I want to find out what Nitya means? And at that point, what kind of health will I find inside me? So this would be the quest for a Vedantin. At least that's my quest. And then I guess the only thing I would add along with, so I guess I didn't add anything new, but I would say that along with satsang, seva / karma yoga and sadhana / swadhyaya, which means self-study, which really means mananam and nididhyasanam, contemplating on what, not just hearing. Swadhyaya or sadhana means, in Vedanta, it means sadhana chatushtayam, or it could mean at the minimum, after listening, don't just stop, contemplate, and then try to practice it. So you might be practice could be that you are about to, get very hurt or lose a day being hurt on something. And then you realize, wait, it's impermanent anyway, something like that. That's a practice. I guess the only addition I would say for improving this concept of nitya within you is to also do some anitya chintan, or to, as Buddha did, you do a contemplation on the impermanent nature, so that you can stop glamorizing the world. And the best way, Baba called it Mrityu Chintan, or the Chintan on death. Do you know that this loka, earth itself, is called Mrityu Loka, or the loka of death? And what does death mean? Death means change. Every change is death. Okay, Mrityu. So Mrityu literally means change. So every change is death. And then at some point, the body also undergoes a change. But the Nitya self just continues. So look at death and stop running away from it, stop escaping from it, stop glamorizing it, stop thinking it's going to happen long time ago. It can happen any moment. It can happen to anyone. It's happening everywhere. If you just take a walk, there is millions of creatures that have undergone death that minute right next to you. So when you focus on the death, because everybody wants to focus on birth and baby showers and cuteness and how nice, but let's look at death. Let's look at aging. Let's become Siddharthas, and let's look at, Gautam Siddhartha, and let's start looking at death, death chintan. And then what happens is that at some point you'll start realizing the ephemeral nature and the nature of everything around you, including your body. You'll become more comfortable with it, but you'll also know that the one that is witnessing that, because to be able to report and witness change, there has to be an unchanging entity, which is Nitya, which is you. And so you keep then, so along with satsang seva and sadhana / swadhyaya or self-study, you also want to spend 10-15 minutes daily journaling or contemplating. That will help you. And there's something very nice. It didn't turn me bitter. I would look at the leaves and I'd say death. I would look at dried leaves and I'd say death. I'd look at a dead caterpillar, death. I would death, 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 death. I looked at some destroyed ambitions, death. So everything was dying, 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 changing. And then I realized that, wow, I have a very short span of being in this being. I just realized I might be teaching a really weird discourse. And maybe to be a popular teacher in the ephemeral world, I should be teaching you something cool. But this is all I get to teach you today. So what I did was, it actually made me prioritize my time better. I didn't want to waste my human life. I didn't want to not awaken my subtle intellect with sattva and be a big baby and all the time, seek, crave, beg, cry for attention from the impermanent world. I just wanted to awaken, moksha. I just wanted to wake up in that short time while my buddhi, body, mind is working. I wanted to take benefit of the fact that I did find a mentor who had awakened and who could show me the way. And I wanted the real deal. I wanted to connect with Nitya. And I just stopped pushing, pulling, manipulating the anitya around me, including my body and mind. And, one of the reasons we don't try to control our thoughts, for example, or I did teach you pranayama, I have taught you how to calm your mind, but they are not the ultimate practices in our tradition, because it's still anitya. So if the knowledge that you are not that may be enough. So sometimes, like I mentioned at one of the retreats, I think at the Ayurveda retreat that I had done last Sunday, that I have not been sleeping very well, but or the mind has not been able to stay, the body mind have not slept that well. But I, Nitya, did not panic because I could observe that and be okay with it, because it's an impermanent situation of the body mind. Yeah, I'll give it some milk with nutmeg, that helped. Yeah, I gave it some jatamansi, that helped. And by the way, I'm sleeping better now. And that's just how the body mind is. It just goes through periods of extreme great sleep, periods of less good sleep, periods of better sleep. But the knowledge that I am nitya and not this anitya mind and body, or I'm not going to find my happiness in the world, my completion, my fulfillment, my approval, my permission, really, helped me. So finally, that's all I have to say, that along with satsang, seva, sadhana, Aparna noted down, I just want to add mrityu chintan or death chintan, which is also known as the chintan means thinking or contemplations on impermanence. I wouldn't quickly rush and start reading Lord Buddha's teachings, because his teachings are, they awaken, but they are a different path. So until we are awakened, we should not follow too many paths, because then it gets confusing. So either you be on one path or the other. That's all I have to say. But any knower of Buddhism or Vedanta knows the somewhat similarities of teachings, and that is why there was a time when Shankaracharya was, labeled as a closet Buddhist, but that's not true. But there are some certain similarities in the teachings per se, because the philosophy of wanting to awaken from this dreamlike, bizarre existence where we have forgotten who we are is very real. It's just that we say that awaken to the true self, and then he says awaken to the impermanence. And then a thought was maybe he just gave the sadhana to awaken from the impermanence, and then you'd wake up to whatever you wake up to. He just didn't want to label it. So there is similarities, but there is still difference, because then he doesn't talk about the self and the Atman, but we do. And then there's this whole development in the Upanishads, which is not given the same. It's not mentioned in, and other things are mentioned. So then they diverge at some level. So they are cousins, but they are not the same. And so that's why, but we can look at his life, and I think you all know his life, about how he saw the impermanence. And even though he was full of luxury and all, he was a really ripe soul from past lives, because then he could see, and he felt the sorrow and the detachment of, I don't want to live this conditioned life. So in your case, I'm not asking you to, to do anything radical. I'm just saying that, can you get de-invested? So two vasanas, one is deha or body vasana, compulsions, attachments around the body. Lokavasana, compulsions, attachments around the world and worldliness. And finally, the third vasana, which is let me get more knowledgeable, let me have more degrees, let me have more shastra that I can quote, let me memorize more things, because I am what I know and what I can show I know. That kind of vasana is around knowledge. And too much words, accumulating words. At the rate at which I'm growing and the pleasure with which I'm having in teaching Bhagavad Gita, and the way Bhagavad Gita is moving through my being while I'm teaching it, I really don't know if in my lifetime. I was calculating, and I was like, maybe I might go up to chapter 6 or 7 at this rate, not 18. But, and some students might think, okay, time to go to another teacher who can teach all 18 in the next 2 years or 3 years. But maybe I cannot. And that's one of the reasons, is that I'm not dealing with Shastra Vasana of having to prove a point that, who's going to do all 18. We shall see. But the point is, and so we should not, so when we start understanding that even knowledge, besides that self-knowledge, which is, we go beyond words, then everything is anitya, then we wake up to the truth of self. And by the way, I've seen some blogs in the process of my new book. I've been seeing what's out there, and people really criticize traditions, not just the Vedic tradition, the Christian tradition, any theological tradition which has any love of scriptures or classic, because there's a new movement going out. You don't need scriptures, you don't need traditions, you don't need morals, you don't need an outer guru, just wake up to your inner guru. I don't really understand how you can wake up when you're just all caught up in impermanence. You're filled with rajas and tamas, trying to work the impermanence casino, and you're trying to desperately make a win, and in case, you put in a penny and 20 pennies come out, you're convinced that the casino works. And then you find, these teachings around, you don't need morals, not morals, but you don't need, those ancient morals, it's like the new age of the self-guiding. But who's the self? Is it just the ego dressed up? So I'm an old school teacher, and I think that scriptures of every religion often have some very valuable gems that have survived through the centuries, and including the Upanishads are, that word, the S word, scriptures, and it sounds very old and tired and boxed, and some people give it up too soon. But Upanishads themselves say that don't keep relying on the words. At some point, go use the words to get to the wordless truth. This is an exact Upanishad that's saying from the Amrit Bindu Upanishad. So it's like they are also not saying that hold on to us and go crazy with us, but they're just saying that we are pointing to something beyond. So you do need to, the words are like an interface. And so words like Nitya or the Upanishad or the Satsang, these are all processes through which you get acquainted to your, your true identity. And I'm going to now stop, and I'll come back and talk to you, not with so much details, but I will tell you more about the other words in the class coming up. Jai Ma. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mridam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Jai Ma.